The Senate of Virginia Local Government Committee meeting. Clerk, call the roll. Thanks.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to take just a little bit of a break. We wanted to get everybody in so we could roll call in. And let's do some housekeeping here in 2 seconds. All right, we've got a couple of housekeeping matters first we're going to take care of. We've gotten a couple of those dreaded letters from Senate Finance, or as we like to call them in the Senate, House of Propes. But here it doesn't mean that your bill's actually going to die. You actually might have a shot, where we know what it means when we get the letter to House of Propes. So the first bill is House Bill 2368, Barry Knight, Delegate Knight, needs to go, has been requested by Senate Finance. It's what we call the Dome Bill. Need a motion to refer to Finance. Motion being properly made, is there a second? Second supported the motion. Is there any discussion on HB 2368 being referred to Finance? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Close roll.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
8 ayes, 0 nays, and that matter is referred to Finance. The second one is House Bill 1838, Marshall. Danny Marshall's Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Act Revenue Sharing Composite Index. That has been requested that it be referred to Finance. Is this the hemp bill? It's not the hemp bill? Okay. Motion being made. Is there a second to refer to Finance?
Second.
Second properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll, please.
10 ayes, 0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. That bill is referred to Finance. Okay, we've got, of the 43 bills, actually now it's 41, we've got, which means the heaviest docket we've ever had. We appreciate those House patrons that actually want to bring their bills to the Senate Local Government Committee. It can be kind of boring over here with you guys sometimes, but this looks exciting. 41 bills, 9 are identical. DB, do you want to go over the ones that are identical to bills that passed in the Senate and give the score of those bills as they passed out of this committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So those are marked on your agendas if you're a member. Those are HB 1649, HB 1766, HB 1893, HB 1913, HB 2002, HB 2052, HB 2061, HB 2342, and HB 2779 are all identical to bills that came out of here, and I believe all except for one of them passed unanimously, and the one that did not pass unanimously was HB 2342. That's the proffer bill, and when it was in this committee, Senators McPike and McClellan voted no, and then on the Senate floor, Senator McPike voted no.
All right, I would suggest and entertain a motion that we put all of those except for House Bill 2342 in a block. Do I have a motion? Motion being made and properly seconded that we put all of those bills that Dave Barry just recited except for House Bill 2342 in a block and move those out as a block. Do I have a motion? Well, first, wait a second. All right, all in favor of putting those in a block except for 2342, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And those are now before us in a block. Do we have a motion on those? Motion being properly made to report these 8 bills, except for House Bill 2342, and a second properly supporting it. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Ten ayes, 0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. Those matters, pieces of legislation in the block passed. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen in the House, if you could notify Fowler, Yancey, well, Dickey, you're here. At least one of your bills got out. Congratulations, Dickey. Bulova, Aird, McQuinn, and DM Adams. Those bills have been before us and are already passed out. They do not need to appear today. Now we have before us HB 2342, which is the proffer bill. Senator Favola, do you want to say anything about it, just to remind us where we are on that, just briefly?
Mr. Chairman, HB 2342 is exactly the same as my bill, my proffer bill. It was a bill that was negotiated with the homeowners and the High Growth Coalition. We were able to relax some of the communication restraints that was in current law. So local staff will be able to engage in conversations with home builders. We also provided for a waiver, so it would be possible for a builder or developer to opt out of the proffer bill and negotiate outside of the confines of the current law. So both of those sort of major strategies, I think, brought us to a better place, and we're hoping that development will be able to move forward in a more collaborative way. So I would move that HB 2342 actually pass out of this committee.
Motion has been made to report House Bill 2342, patron is Delegate Thomas. Is there any second to that? Second being properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Oh, I made a mistake. Mr. Chairman,
Hold open the roll, please, while we get used to our proxies here.
I made a mistake.
That never happens.
Okay, but I have to. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. In Sorville was a yes.
I'm going to strike it.
Strike the roll,
Strike the
please.
roll, and I apologize.
We're really not this goofy. Yeah. All right. A motion being properly made to report House Bill 2342 and a second to support it. No discussion hearing by members of the panel. Clerk, reopen the roll. First one's yourself, second one's your proxy, third one's your proxy.
No,
There we go. Oh,
no, I messed it up again.
keep,
No. Can I just?
keep
okay?
going. Just keep
I-
going.
I'm-
You
I'm-
just go red all the way. Come on, you can do it. Are you
Okay,
there?
and yes, and now I.
Don't
want-
touch anything else.
I want myself to be green.
All right, hold on.
Fine, just make me green.
It's not easy being green. That's right. Clerk, I guess, close the roll.
Too many proxies.
8 ayes, 2 nays.
8 ayes, 2 nays. House Bill 2342 reports. If someone could let Delegate Thomas know, he does not need to appear. All right, that was exciting. All right,
get better.
let's go in order of the sign-up sheet, unless anybody has a real need to go out of order and can articulate it. Delegate Murphy, I wouldn't let you down. Delegate Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out that this is a bill that's very similar to one we put in last year that
And the number of the
was
bill?
defeated and got
Is
confused.
it 2033?
This is House Bill 2033. And it applies to counties that operate under the urban county executive form of government.
All right.
It's a very simple bill to address a local concern. Up in our neck of the woods, there are a lot of traffic challenges. Roadways are experiencing significant cut-through traffic. It is really, really causing problems in our neighborhoods. We know that at some point there will be signs put up that restrict access into these neighborhoods. This bill would allow us to issue stickers to people who live in the neighborhoods so they could actually go home. They could go pick their kids up at school and go back, and if it was 3:30, they could still turn onto their own street. This is done in Arlington and other areas, but it would just be for this one area. Because of the American Legion Bridge, what we have is ways sending cars through these neighborhoods. There are no sidewalks. The kids are in danger when they're getting out of buses. So we expect that at some point VDOT will step in and put up signs. Now, we're not encouraging signs. It has nothing to do with it. What we would like to do is give the authority to our local governments to be able to issue stickers to people who actually live there, so they can make that right turn and go into their own street. That's all it does.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Murphy. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the turns into or out of bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Chris
And I'm
Sigmund.
sorry, before you start, Delegate Murphy, I didn't know that you had woods up there. You said in your neck of the woods, you actually have woods?
Actually, we do.
Really?
It's a
Fake trees or real
shocker,
trees?
I know, but
Okay.
yeah. I'll show you pictures.
I've been there. I was raised there.
We love our woods in Fairfax County.
We had a lot more of them back in the 70s, I can assure you. Go ahead, please, sir.
We support this bill for the reasons that Delegate Murphy mentioned. We think that, first of all, getting people into their neighborhoods gets them to where they need to be, and it also reduces traffic in other areas, so we support the bill.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak in support of House Bill 2033? Sergeant Arms sees that guy's phone. How dare he disrupt this? All right, does anybody want to speak against 2033? Motion has been made to report this bill. Is there a second? Second being properly supporting of the motion. Is there any discussion on the bill, on the motion? No. Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember this bill, Mr. Chairman, from last year, and I'm going to put this in the form of a question. If I remember correctly, and I just want to make sure I really understand it.
Okay.
Last year, because I know that there was some opposition to this bill last year. And a couple of the questions that I remember were, number one, for law enforcement, if I'm law enforcement, how would I be able to properly enforce this if I'm looking at stickers? Tell me in the weeds how that would work.
Well, in several areas now, people who live in those neighborhoods have stickers on their bumpers that indicate that they live in the neighborhood. We don't imagine that there are going to be police cars sitting on these street corners at all times. But if, in fact, a police officer is on duty, I mean, there are more police out there now because this is right near Georgetown Pike where it meets 495. And so while we haven't yet had anybody put up a sign, if they did, what we're trying to do is ensure that if you live on that street, you don't have to go 3 blocks the other way. You can just turn right into your street. It was misinterpreted last year to say that it was going to ban people from the neighborhood, which isn't what it's meant to do at all. It has nothing to do with banning anybody. It's to permit residents, if the police officer sees a little sticker, then he's not going to give them a ticket if they make that right turn. That's all it means.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, just a follow-up question.
Senator Chase.
So are the local police then supportive of this
Yes.
initiative? They're supportive of it?
Yes.
And the community in which this is intended to benefit, they're obviously in support of this?
Well, except for last year when it was misexplained,
Okay.
now that we have cleared the air, we seem not to have any opposition that has come forward.
Okay. I remember this bill well, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure I
So do I.
had it straight and clear. Thank you.
And for your edification, if you do remember, also it did not report out of this committee.
That was true, too.
All right. Is there any other question of the patron? Anyone opposed to this litigation? Anyone opposed to this legislation? Okay, seeing none, we operate by motion. Oh, you already did? Oh, we were in discussion, weren't we? Sorry. It's the last meeting. It's the last meeting before you guys take over next year, so just trying to get it right. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Is there any further discussion? Right, that's right. All right, seeing none, clerk open the roll. See what.
10
close
ayes,
roll.
0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. See what a difference a year makes, huh? Delegate Murphy, congratulations. 2033 reports. Delegate Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You guys passed 2779 in block, so the only one I have left is 2807. And that allows the town of Keysville to amend its town charter to allow for staggered terms of the mayor and councilman so as to avoid the possibility of a complete overturning of the council in one election. That this came, of course, at the request of the town of Keysville.
Delegate Edmonds, can you be a little more specific with your bill?
I'm sure that I could read the entire bill if you'd like me to, Mr.
Can you do it in
Chairman.
French? Can you do it in French?
No, sir, I cannot.
Then we don't want to hear it.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor of this piece of legislation? Keysville is a very nice town. For all of us that went to Hampton City, it was where you could buy beer. So we used to call Beersville. There are no pictures of that. None. All right, is there anyone who's in opposition, like Anheuser-Busch or anything like that? Nobody? A motion being made to report, properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on Beersville's amending their charter? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Mr. Chairman, this is a fun committee.
We
10
try,
ayes, 0 nays.
we try to make it that way. Please close the roll, clerk.
10 ayes, 0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2807 passes, and the people of Keysville, thank you for your fine representation,
I
sir.
thank the committee.
Have a great afternoon, sir. All right, who's the next? What are you looking at me for? All right, I've just been reminded by the clerk, or by council, that we have a couple of bills that perhaps weren't included in the block that are identical from bills that have previously passed through this committee and also passed through the floor of the Senate. Is that right, Mr. Barry? Can you please read out what those bills are?
Those are two bills, HB 1963 and HB 1965.
All right, let's take them up one at a time so we know what we're looking at in order, if you don't mind. 1963? Fort Monroe Authority changed it to the definition of area of operation. Is Delegate Helsel here? Does anybody want to play Delegate Helsel? Okay. This is an identical bill, Dave, to whose bill that came out of the Senate? Dan.
I believe it was Senator Dance's bill 1191.
1191. And do you remember what the count was in this committee and/or on the floor of the Senate?
I believe it was unanimous.
Thank.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on these, or do you want to hear? Motion being made to agree to House Bill 1963 and a report out of this committee. And I heard a second that supports the motion.
Second.
And that has been made. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Uh-oh.
10 ayes, 0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 1963 reports. And the next one?
House Bill 1965.
House Bill 1965, that's the payments for the city of Hampton in lieu of real property taxes. You do recall that matter was referred to Finance, but Finance pushed it out unanimously, and then it passed on the floor. I don't think we need to burden Senate Finance with any of these further, so I would entertain a motion. Motion being made to report House Bill 1965. Second properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Don't throw any red up there. I don't want to discuss.
10 ayes, 0 nays.
10 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 1965 reports. If anybody could let Delegate Helsel no, we'd appreciate it so he doesn't have to come down here unless he has another bill. Doesn't it feel like when you clean out your garage and then have a big fire sale out in the front yard? That's what it feels like today. So, all right, next bill. Next one up. Tommy Wright, Delegate Wright, from Southside, Virginia.
Sir.
Hello, Tommy. Welcome, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay.
My bill is 2740. It's a charter change for the town of Kimbridge. It allows for the staggering of the election of town council members' terms. It extends those council members' terms from 2 to 4 years. And then it also makes general grants of power as set out in the Code of Virginia and just updates the charter as well. It also makes it clear that the chief of police is in charge of the police department. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of House Bill 2740? Does anybody would like to speak in opposition to House Bill 2740? Oh, yep, step on up. You got a line form behind you. We've never had that in a charter bill ever. All right, is there any motion on the bill?
I move to report.
Motion being made to report HB 2740 and a second properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none on the motion report, open the roll. Close the roll.
11 ayes, 0 nays.
11 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2740 reports.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Wright. All right, let's toe. I'm reluctant to call this name. Delegate Ferris.
Mr.
All right, we're going to move on to Delegate Thomas now.
Mr. Chairman, ladies.
Now, hold on a second. Delegate Ferris, if I may just take 1 second. You made a lot of people vote on a couple crazy bills over on the Senate side. One of them was shooting varmints while in a moving car. And we seem to think, and we made this kind of assessment, that perhaps that every bill that comes over with the name Ferris on it has something to do with a personal story that you might have as to why you're putting that bill in.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you that several of them that voted for the bill that you are referring to are going to co-sign with me on legislation next year to add legislators from Franklin County to that list of
Targets.
yes.
Varmints.
The varmints, that's right. And so that's how that bill.
Well, in Franklin
fared
County,
so
our
well.
circuit court already takes judicial notice of that, so you can come out and shoot us anytime, all right? Now, what do you got here, big guy?
All right.
1698.
Yeah, so this is a freedom bill. It allows, it allows for localities to,
It allows varmints to have concealed carries, is that what you're
Yes,
talking
sir.
about here?
it allows for localities to send certified letters and/or registered letters, certified letters being cheaper than a registered letter, when it allows the zoning administrators of counties to do that instead of registered mail. Hope it'll be the,
Wow, this one's going to get you reelected, I can feel it.
yeah. I move to report.
Do you, do you know that your bill actually changes 2 words in this whole code section of 15.22311? You know that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, that's why they chose me instead of you.
All right, is there anybody in support of this bill? Step forward, please. Save me from my misery. Please, who is that? Let them step forward. They came all this way to talk about this awesome bill.
Mr. Chairman, David Blunt on behalf of Albemarle County, which requested the good delegate to introduce this bill. It will allow any locality to save a little money if they send certified by, as opposed to registered. And, the end result is the same in terms of, proof of receipt. But it's just a good government, save a little money bill. I
Okay.
ask you to support it.
Where's the liberty and freedom we heard about? I'm still waiting on that one.
Chris Sigler, Fairfax County, Mr. Chairman.
Chris.
We also support the bill. We love saving money in Fairfax County.
All right. Anybody opposed to this bill?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we report the bill.
Motion being made to report. Yeah. Do I have a second to Senator Ferris's motion? Second being properly made and supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Twelve ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays. That bill reports.
Thanks to my good friend Senator D's staff, I have the best score today.
All right, well, congratulations. Keep it going. All right, I don't know how you guys put up with him. Delegate Thomas, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I have a boring bill.
Oh, don't say that.
It's
Nothing's
House
boring here.
Bill 2139. If you could take that one
Ladies
first.
and gentlemen, House Bill 2139. All right,
So in current code, we have the transfer of development rights program, and you have a sending area and a receiving area. So basically, a locality can designate an area of their locality where they don't want to see development, and that becomes the sending area. And you send the development rights out of there. And then they designate an area of the county where they would like to see growth. So this is a way of preserving property out in the areas of the county where there's no infrastructure, because the private parties will actually pay each other for that development right. So it's a way of preserving property without using taxpayer dollars. The problem we have is working very well in Stafford County. The problem we have is under the current code, you can only have one sending area and one receiving area. And the math has to work up very accurately because you can't have an area that can't take all those by right units. We have that in the central part of the county. What we'd like to do now is in the southern part of the county where we have a lot of farms, we would like to be able to have another sending and receiving area, and under the current code, we can't quite get there. So that's all we're trying to do with the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the patron.
wow, this is exciting. This is exciting.
Told ya.
Senator Favola.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Thomas, the current code
Bless you.
seems to have the context with which you would need, but I guess under this, you would allow, say, a sending area to be maybe in the central part of the county and a receiving area to be in the more rural part? Or is
That's what you could do. And the
so it allows more flexibility in terms of where the areas are.
Right, and the problem right now is if you're coming out of this new sending area B, you can't currently say those rights can only go into receiving area B.
Right.
Right now, they would be able to pick both, and the math wouldn't work out. So you could eventually have all the rights that are in the receiving area get used, so then everybody else that's waiting in line, it's not fair to them because there's no more.
Right,
there's
so
no more
it's opening
development
up the
areas.
different areas as
Correct.
opposed to containing it within one general geographic area.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. All right. Any other questions of the patron? Kidding. Any other questions? Seeing none. Anyone is speaking in support from the sending area or the receiving area who would like to speak in support of the bill? Anybody opposed to this legislation?
I would move we report the bill. It provides an additional tool to local government in managing their growth.
All right, there's a motion being made to report House Bill 2139. Is there a second? Hearing a second, properly supporting the primary motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Close roll. 12 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2139 passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have House Bill 2141.
All right.
So everybody is struggling to get broadband to the home. And one of the things that we considered over the summer as we were trying to figure out a way to help fund some of these projects is what we could do with our localities as partners. Under the authority of a service district, they already have pretty broad latitude to do projects. A typical project would be if you have a lake with a dam that's failing. The locality could go in, pay up front to fix the dam, and then they would receive the money on the tail end from the homeowners around the lake. So an example like this that we've run into at the local level, a lot of times you'll have a 50 unit subdivision, but the cable provider can't quite justify the expense to get there. And in the case where I had over 6 years, it was usually somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 that they couldn't justify that bit of infrastructure. So what this bill would allow the locality to do is they could partner with a provider to do that. Normally on a service, or on a service district, the locality can operate it. We're not trying to do that. It's very small here. So they could partner with a broadband provider. And what they would do under the existing service district language is they would hold a public hearing for those 50 homes. More than 50% of people would have to agree to it. That's part of the existing language. And then what they could do is they could, if they had the money, they could front that $50,000. They would then partner with the provider. They would serve the 50 homes, and then there would be an additional service district tax on their property. And eventually the money would go back to the locality. Locality has existing, they can charge interest now if they want. So basically what happens is when you're done, this subdivision now has broadband, and they are, those taxpayers that benefited directly are the ones who paid for it when it's all said and done.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Carrico.
So in the language of your bill, it says to contract with a broadband service provider. Is that inclusive of private and local municipalities?
The way it's currently written, it is. The original bill just had very broad, it just said broadband service, so the locality could construct it on their own. That's clearly not what we're trying to do, because they may not be good at that. So we had the word private in one draft, and we took that out, so broadband authority could technically be the provider. The locality, of course, would have to contract with them and make sure they could actually perform the service. It would be up to the locality to, say yes or no to that provider.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Carrico.
So why wouldn't we leave private service provider in there, having dealt with a municipality that had tremendous audit problems, and if you have a natural disaster, the taxpayer's going to be double price for this if it's owned by a municipality? Would you be amenable to an amendment after broadband put private service provider?
I would say to the senator that that does not harm what I'm trying to do. I would put it before broadband.
Okay. Whichever,
Okay.
with a private broadband service provider. Mr. Chairman,
Senator Carrico.
I just look at this and think of what we went through with grants and money that were appropriated in the Bristol district, and a lot of the things, the misuse of money that happened there, and worry about if we give it to a local provider, we're basically using taxpayers' dollars to put it in, and then if it's damaged, we're using taxpayers' dollars to fix it. And if it's a private provider, they're using their own money to have to fix and repair the cost.
Senator, you're talking about because we have municipalities that provide utilities,
Yeah,
including broadband.
including my district, yeah.
All right. Delegate, would you like to respond?
That is perfectly in line with what I'm trying to do. I have, since it went through the House, I was made aware of a couple of those situations where things got off the rails. So I think adding the word private before broadband is absolutely in line. I would welcome that amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Senator Favola.
I think I met with individuals from different providers. Yeah, I met with representatives from different providers, and there was a suggestion that a definition of unserved be added. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, ma'am. I would say to the senator, in the last hour before I got here, we looked through the code to find if in the code unserved was ever determined, and it is not. There's 6 different areas that it shows up in the code under the Virginia Broadband Infrastructure Loan Fund, definition of towers for broadband, the Office of Telework Promotion and Broadband Assistance, and there's a couple others. The word unserved always exists on its own. Where it does get defined is in the policy execution, like the VATI grants. They then determine what unserved would be.
And Delegate Favola, and I looked at this too. because we've dealt with that issue, and I think we may have even defined it in the Tobacco Commission. But if you take it with unserved areas of the service district, and as we like to, as lawyers, take the plain meaning of those words as they're written in the code, it would be those, one would think, and a court would probably most likely think that it's the areas that don't have broadband, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we had a proposed amendment to add private.
Private, yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, just to wrap up your comment, you're telling me that the definition of unserved would be promulgated through a regulation?
Well, I would agree with the senator that when the locality is proposing to do this, they would define what's unserved. And we actually did add some language that says that they have to document that less than 10% of people even have access to broadband. One of the suggestions was to start adding things like 10 megabytes and 1 megabyte. And I think given the pace of technology, and I spoke to the staff, I mean, that would be a first time that we have started defining 1 to 10 throughout the Code of Virginia. So that's my only caution.
That's
there.
your caution?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Chairman, if there was a representative from Cable Association.
Yes, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Chairman.
look familiar.
Ray Lemire, Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association, and we mean no harm to the senator's bill. What we're trying to provide is clarifying language, because the term unserved, not defined, can be a whole host of things. The FCC has defined broadband as 25 and 3, but they have a Connect America fund where they handed out millions of dollars to CenturyLink here in Virginia with speeds in 10 and 1. So we think that clarifying language does make an important sense. And the word unserved is expressly kind of defined in the budget where value is set out.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Catron.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, when the House dealt with this bill in subcommittee, that's when we talked to the patron of the bill about removing the word private from in front of the private broadband provider. There are municipal broadband authorities in this state that are capable of working with local governments on tax service districts to bring about broadband in defined areas. I know the Bristol situation was a horrible situation. The people that did all that, I think they were convicted and went to jail for fraud, I think. But there are many municipal broadband authorities in this state that do a great job, that can do it. Eastern Shore of Virginia is one place, Roanoke Valley is another place. There are other places in the state where this could, this tax district would be very helpful in bringing about broadband to defined areas. And that's what tax service districts are for. So we'd ask you to consider leaving the language right here as it is.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kerka.
So would you not agree that the private providers are using their funds to do this where local providers are using taxpayers' funds to do this?
It would depend on the, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Senator Kerka, it would depend on the, how mature the municipal broadband authority is. In Eastern Shore's case, they have $3 million in the bank. They could easily afford to work with a tax service district area to bring about broadband in a subdivision or on a peninsula on the Eastern Shore or something like that. In a brand new municipal broadband authority, sure, they would use tax dollars at the beginning, but municipal broadband authorities are designed to, meet their operational capabilities, repay the CapEx it takes to create them, and then also to save for the future to fix old equipment and that sort of thing. So there are municipal broadband authorities in the state mature enough to do this, but there are some that are very, very new. So it would just depend on the situation, I think, Senator.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick point here is last mile is a term of art. It doesn't mean 5,280 feet.
Yeah, that's, we got that from the federal code. I should have brought that with me, exactly what it meant. But, because there's all these other federal programs, it's defined to mean you're not running miles and miles of fiber optics throughout the county. You're literally trying to get to normally what it is you'll have a trunk line and there's a subdivision that has service and then there's one over here and you're trying to get it that last mile to the home. So we're trying to say that so it can't be these big, expensive projects.
Okay, so there's flexibility there, and who? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there's flexibility there, and who determines what I guess violates the last mile concept?
So under the service district, the locality would they would have a public hearing and they would have to justify the project to the community, and 51% of the homeowners would be affected. And there's a contract between the locality and the provider, so that would be worked out at that time.
Thank you.
And I would say, I'm happy to work with the broadband authorities next year if I'm here, but I'm perfectly fine with at least starting out living it to.
All right, so let's start moving this along a little bit here. Is
Mr.
there a
Chairman,
motion to,
I move that we add the private to the language.
okay,
And
Barry? Motion being made to add the word private to what would be what, line
line 28,
128?
after A, insert
With
private.
a private
broadband service provider.
Broadband service provider. Dave, we understand that? Does everybody understand the amendment? All right, there's been a motion to make that amendment. I think I heard a second over here.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that amendment? All right. All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. No.
Mr. Chairman,
That amendment has been made.
I have another amendment, suggested amendment. Friendly.
You're on a roll here.
Intended
Let's
to
go.
be friendly.
All right, let's go.
Delegate Thomas, would you be willing to add a definition of unserved? And I can read that to you?
I have a suggested one as well.
Okay,
It probably
do it.
comes from the same person. It's the will of the committee if they think it's a good idea to start putting that
Where
in
would
the
you
Code
put
of
this
Virginia.
definition, Delegate?
I would have to defer to staff.
Yeah, I gave them a recommendation. You would add a paragraph at the end that says, for this section, unserved equals in 10 megabytes, 1 megabyte, so.
Is there a
Should-
definition section in that? In 15.2? Okay. And is it the one we all are reading?
Mr. Chairman, may I read? Go ahead.
This is what I think they're talking about. Here, let me read what I think is Senator Favola's and see if this is the same. Unserved by broadband, in quotes, means a designated area in which less than 10% of residential and commercial units are capable of receiving broadband service, provided that the Department of Housing and Community Development, for its Virginia Telecommunication Initiative, may, by regulation, increase such percentage from time to time.
That is my amendment.
Shocking. Is that what you understand? that?
That's close, but it's talking about the 10% threshold,
Yeah.
Yes.
whatever the will of the committee is, I think.
No. This is your bill, and
Yeah.
we're not doing surgery on your bill.
So that's different than what can you give that to the chairman?
Dave, why don't you read the difference? And read along.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed definition that Delegate Thomas had given us would say as another sentence at the end of line 132, as used in this subsection, unserved area means an area in which broadband speeds of 10 megabytes per second or less download speed and 1 megabytes per second or less upload speed are not generally available.
So it's somewhere in the middle, I think.
That's different. That's
Way
a broader,
particular.
that's much broader than just saying 10% of residential communication.
I think the
Commercial
original bill says 10%. I mean, that's in there.
Look, I live in an unserved area. I don't have broadband, So I know what it looks like. I may not be able to find it, but I know it when I see it. I don't know where I got that from.
Mr. Chairman, I would withdraw my amendment if the delegate is proposing the amendment he just read. That was
Counsel?
just read.
Counsel, having the two side by side, can you quickly give me a legal opinion as to what you think is probably better in terms of a definition that gets us to where we're trying to go with a very good bill here? And quickly. Quickly.
Mr. Chairman, there's two things. One, it's just a different standard in the sense that what you're actually going by, the one originally proposed by Senator Favola would deal with the number of houses in the area, whereas this other one goes by the speed of the internet that is accessible. But the other thing is that at least a substantial portion of what Senator Favola's definition gets at is
Already in the bill.
already in the bill.
Right.
If you'll look at line 130, it gets at that 10% of residential and commercial units.
Right. Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee on this?
Mr. Chairman, I think I
I
would.
mean, it's either size or speed, right? I mean, that's what the
Right,
differences are, Dave?
I would think speed would be a broader catchment,
What about either or?
either, yeah, that would,
Yeah, I think the 10% that Senator Favola was looking for is in the,
that
the
could
language?
be.
It is.
You could argue that that's on.
that's one of the ways we tried to,
130, so I would just add the additional amendment language. Would that be a correct
Hey, Dave, is there a
addition?
way to make it either or, and that just mean, what we're doing is reiterating what is already in the bill? Is that not possible? Either speed or size. An unserved, because what we're trying to do is we're defining unserved area. One school of thought says it's the lack of the ability to have certain speed of broadband there. The other says it's the lack of the group that has access to broadband of whatever speed, correct?
and,
Seems to me it could be either, could qualify as an unserved area if you pair to them.
and I
Both of them, right.
believe where Senator Favola is trying to go with the 10%, that is already in the existing language without an amendment. That's something we worked on the House side. It doesn't reference the community, right, so.
Dave. Mr. Lemura, you're lurking about.
Just want to provide some clarification. So the VADI guidelines, the Tobacco Commission guidelines, the VADI all speak to the speeds
Right.
as opposed to the percentages. So if you want to be consistent, you may want to use the speeds as opposed to the percentages. That's just for the will of the committee to decide. But that's what the guidelines speak to expressly in both Tobacco Commission and VADI grants.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think you have
So
the.
hold on. So Ray, you wouldn't have a problem of either or as being classified as an unserved area, would you?
To the end.
Right. That'd be fine.
Okay.
So I think if you just add my paragraph to the end, you have the
Just do an either
10%
or.
you were looking for and the speeds that they were looking for.
Okay. Do I have a motion on that amendment, which Dave will clean it up,
So-
right?
So
Dave?
moved.
Motion being properly made to amend it as kind of stated, with a second supporting that kind of stated amendment. Is there any discussion on that kind of stated amendment? Hearing none, all in favor of the kind of stated amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the kind of amended thing is before us. Okay. Is there anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this bill? In support? Mr. Lurch, where have you been? We have missed you.
I missed you too, Mr.
Welcome to our
Chairman.
last meeting.
Thank you. Joe Lurch, Virginia Association of Counties, speaking in support of the bill. We think this is going to be a useful tool that some of our members will be able to take a hold of. And I think to the patrons, a point earlier, I mean, this isn't a broad brush tool that localities are going to use across Olmsted County. They're going to go for those areas where there's no service. And in fact, we've already gotten interest from counties, in particular Franklin County is interested in areas that don't have service, and they see this as a possible way to get there.
Anywhere in Glade Hill in Franklin County?
I think they were talking near Ferrum.
No, wait a minute.
But, you know,
Can we amend that
have
bill
come-
specifically to Glade Hill? Poindexter and I are both living there, so, not together, though.
I'll have them look at that directly. And I think just another point to make is that the, having that flexibility on the 10% or what the speed is, I mean, you're talking about small areas. That will help localities surgically do this best. And to, you know, Senator Mars's question, last mile, it is a term of art. It could be 3 miles from a trunk line. It could be 80 feet from a trunk line. It's just getting that service to the premises, whether it's a residence or a business. So we support the bill. Thank you.
Michelle Gowdy, VML, we support the bill as well.
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gowdy. All right. Now, Dave, do you want to just read to the patron what you've done to butcher his bill?
I'll give it my
I mean,
best shot.
surgically repair, that's what I meant.
Give it my best shot, Mr. Chairman. So I think what we would do is continue to add just a separate sentence on the end of the bill on line 132 and say, as used in this subsection, unserved area means an area in which, actually, means little I, an area in which broadband speeds of 10 megabytes per second or less download speed and 1 megabytes per second or less upload speed are not generally available, or 2 little I, an area in which less than 10% of residential and commercial units are capable of receiving broadband service, provided that the Department of Housing and Community Development, for its Virginia Telecommunication Initiative, may by regulation increase such percentage from time to time.
Well, that's already before us, so, all right, we have the bill before us. We operate by motion.
To report, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
being made to report, a second properly supporting it. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Open the roll, clerk, please. And the most, close the roll.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention. I'm going to have to explain this on the floor, but
Thanks for your generosity of time.
your bill reports. Thank you. Thank you.
You can't say.
Yes, please. All right, Delegate Quinn. And he's not here, so he misses out. Delegate Peace.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not Delegate Peace.
No.
However, I'm the chief co on this bill, and I'll be presenting on his behalf.
Thank God.
So, before you, you should have House Bill 1866.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this bill is kind of a piece of legislation that came as a result of many of the discussions that we have been having in the joint committee on local governments in fiscal distress. And what this legislation would do is really provide some additional support for the Auditor of Public Accounts by ensuring that the reports on the performance of a locality is submitted to the auditor, as well as ensuring that if a locality does not submit this report, there are several things that they need to do. They need to make the report available on their website. If they do not have a website, they need to share the reasons behind why the report hasn't been submitted, and how long they expect the delay to continue at their local government public meeting. And so ultimately, this is a bill on transparency and trying to ensure that our localities are getting this report in.
Okay, very good. Thank you for sparing us Delegate Peace. We really appreciate that.
I won't tell him you said that.
Please do tell him. It's recording. I hope he's
This is
watching.
true.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of HB 1866? I know that you're carrying him across the finish line. That's what we're going to say about this. Is there anyone who wants to speak against House Bill 1866?
Move the bill be reported.
Motion to be, that 1866 be reported, properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Close the roll.
I thank the committee.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. You
Thank
take
you.
all the credit for that, okay?
I will.
Thank you, Delegate. All right. Delegate Hayes. Hello, Delegate Hayes. Your day still going well?
I'm sorry?
Is your day still going well?
Yes, sir.
All right, we were just checking in on each other in the elevator earlier today. so
Absolutely,
just-
absolutely.
All right, House Bill 2310.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. You have before you House Bill 2310. And the background on the bill, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, is that the National Flood Insurance Program aims to reduce an impact of flooding on private and public structures. It does so by providing affordable insurance to the property owners, renters, and businesses. In order to be eligible to participate in the program, localities are required to adopt and enforce the floodplain management ordinances to help mitigate the effects of flooding on new and improved structures. There are currently 290 localities in Virginia participating in the National Flood Insurance Program. Though there is no clear authority for localities to adopt floodplain ordinance outside of the authority established. However, there are several localities that have adopted floodplain ordinances as separate ordinances. In order to address this issue, an additional section of the code authorizing standalone floodplain ordinances is being proposed. The proposal will enable localities to adopt floodplain ordinances in a manner
that is best suited for the community while still ensuring participation in the program. Mr. Chairman, I failed to mention that there is a line amendment. I meant to present that first.
All right, we have an amendment. Let's get this bill in form.
Mr. Chairman?
No, second one. Mr. Chairman, on line 14, we're going to insert a sentence at the end of the regular text, so this is not a new enactment clause. It would be a new sentence that says, "Nothing in this section shall be construed to limit a locality's authority to regulate a floodplain pursuant to section 15.2-2283 or any other provision of law."
And what are those code sections? What do they pertain to? Zoning?
Mr. Chairman, that's the zoning, regular zoning ordinance
Okay.
sections.
All right, there's a motion to amend, second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to amend in accordance with what Dave Barry has just said? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the amendment has been made, and the bill is before us. This is a may, not a shall. This allows a government to act or not act. Is that correct?
Mr.
Delegate
Chairman, I
Hayes?
have a question.
Oh, thought we were going to get you out of here without a Senator Favola question, but looks like it's coming. All right. Buckle your seatbelts, everybody.
Yes,
Here
sir.
comes Senator Favola. Yes.
Thank you. As I pulled it up on my machine here, it said that the provisions of this section shall be given retroactive and prospective effect. So I'm just curious, that would, in theory, the bill will take effect July 1st, 2019, but a jurisdiction could go back and change plans that were already in place. Is that the intent? I'm just asking
Mr.
for
Chairman,
clarification.
Senator, we have also a member from the staff, Mr. Russ Baxter, to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, I'm Russ Baxter with the Department of Conservation, and Delegate Hayes kindly agreed to carry this bill on our behalf. That was language that the Attorney General's office recommended to us so that a locality would not have to go back and re-adopt their ordinance. We realize there's going to be a little fuzzy period in between the time the bill presumably is signed by the governor and July 1st, but we're willing to take that chance.
Coming from local government, I do thank you, Mr. Chairman. Coming from local government, I think I do understand what the intent was, although this would take effect prospectively in July.
That's right.
Plans that would need to be changed may have already been adopted by the localities.
That's right.
So I get it.
The reason we put in this bill is based on our conversations with the Attorney General's office. It was, Mr. Chairman, it was just not clear that that authority existed outside the zoning statute.
Yeah.
So this is just a
It's like
good
a
government, make
technical-
sure everybody's covered kind of bill.
And explain to me then, how would this affect a private owner of land where this
It doesn't affect
designated?
them in any other way than a local ordinance would. If
I can't go back, so this person owns a floodplain, and I can't go back into history and say, you're not allowed to use it as you've used it, even though that would be
First of all, a
prospective.
locality doesn't have to adopt a floodplain ordinance.
I get that.
Secondly, this bill would apply to ordinance that have already been adopted outside of the zoning ordinance, that are standalone ordinances. There are a number of localities that don't have zoning, or for some reason chose to adopt their floodplain ordinance outside of the zoning ordinance, where there is clear authority to do that. And so I don't believe it would ensnare anyone who is not already living under the ordinances of that local government.
Okay. All right, any questions of the witness?
Thank you,
I don't like
Mr. Chairman.
retroactivity. I don't like it. Any questions of the patron? All right, anybody want to speak in favor of the bill? Michelle? Hi again.
How are you?
I'm good.
We support this bill. We think it's just a cleanup to give us clarifying the authority of local governments.
All right, and property owners should not be scared of the word retroactively?
They should not be scared.
Really?
Really.
Did you mean that before?
No.
Just
Not
kidding.
before, just now.
Just kidding.
Thank you.
All right. All right, anybody to speak against the bill? From way back.
And I'm going to second the motion since
Motion
I made
report
everybody
being made,
nervous.
second, properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Hold on, Q. Close roll.
10 ayes, 3 nays.
10 ayes, 3 nays. House Bill 2310 reports. Delegate Hayes, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you, sir. All right. Delegate O'Quinn, Delegate Ransone. Oh, he arrived? You just got here, right? Delegate Ransone has sat here diligently. Delegate Ransone, we'll put him behind you.
I'm fast. I have a charter bell.
Ugh,
I know,
we thought there would be something exciting. All right.
somewhat exciting.
They're always
Same
exciting.
as Senate Bill 1350 that passed out. We do have a couple of amendments that the Senate put on.
Wait. Didn't we take those
If you'd
already?
like to introduce those.
We have I thought we passed those in a block.
Mr. Chairman, this bill is similar, it just needs 2 line amendments to be identical, so we have not passed this in the block.
Oh, okay. All right, House Bill 1895.
Correct. House Bill 1895 is a charter change for the town of Irvington. We're simply updating the charter so it reflects the current town practice of their council. What the changes include are town boundaries for the descriptions of their state highway 200. And it also codifies their existing 4-year staggered term for their council. And also it conforms their council and their mayor terms. And it clarifies that the mayor only votes in a tie.
Okay.
Nothing exciting.
Dave, the amendments, you want to report those?
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 line amendments. They are on lines 51 and 54. Both are doing the same thing, changing the second Tuesday to be the first Tuesday in May on both lines 51 and 54.
Okay. All right, you understand the amendments? And is there a motion to adopt them?
So moved.
Is there a second? To adopt the amendment. Second. Adopted. The second being properly supporting the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The amendments are made.
Move the bill be reported.
Motion to report the bill is being made, properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on HB 1895's motion to report? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. We'll all be there for the election night party on the first, the first Tuesday in May. In
It's a fun town. Come
Irvington's
visit.
a great place.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Delegate. All right. O'Quinn, because you signed up, all these people have sat here patiently.
Online. Mr. Chairman?
You ordered online? You did this online? Is that what you said?
I don't know.
No? Okay, all right, just wondering.
I think my LA camped out down here.
Okay. How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
All right, Israel, what do you got for me?
Which, you want House Bill 2224 first?
That's fine, whatever you think.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 2224 came to me by the town of Glade Spring. And essentially, they have a Board of Zoning Appeals, and per the code is required to have either 5 or 7 members. It's a town of about 1,400 people. They've had a very difficult time finding 5 people to set on that. So we essentially had initially named the town, but decided against that. And on the advice of committee counsel, we used the term of art of at least of 3,500 residents or less, so that they could have 3 members of their Board of Zoning Appeals.
All right, are there any questions of the patron?
Move the bill be reported.
Motion to report being made, properly supported by a second. Any discussion on that motion to report HB 2224? Clerk, open the roll. There you go. Clerk, close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2224 reports. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final bill that I have is House Bill 2497.
Okay. Another charter bill?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is a fairly comprehensive charter change that comes from the city of Bristol. You can see the changes that were made there. There was some language initially included that related to referendums on gaming and whatnot. The Senate or the House Rules Committee pulled those out. So what you're left is everything else that the City Council passed unanimously after multiple readings. And so that's the charter change that you have before you.
Okay, is there any questions of the patron? Anybody want to speak in favor of the bill? Somebody from Bristol? Anybody want to speak in opposition to the bill? Okay. Anybody still here and awake?
Yep.
There we go. Got a motion to report the bill. Is there a second? Second properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion to report House Bill 2497? Now, does this have a study attached to it now? I mean, is this, oh, that's another
No,
bill.
Mr. Chairman, thankfully not.
All right, open the roll, clerk. Close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2497 reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Always good to see you, Delegate O'Quinn. Delegate Landis.
Chairman, you just went up to Senate Finance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I can handle that. I represent Grotto's. It's a charter bill.
All right, we're going to have
It just extends the term of
Senator
the mayor
Hanger?
from 2 years to 4 years.
Can you tell us what number it is?
Number 2809.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2809.
It's charter for the town of Grotto's, which I also represent.
Uh-huh.
Extends the term of the mayor from 2 years to 4 years to coincide with the terms of the council members.
Anything else?
I move it be reporting.
Motion to report the bill and properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2809 of the town of Grotto's passes and is reported. All right. Delegate Cole. Hello, Mark. How you been?
All right, thank
Excellent.
you. I have House Bill 1614, and it's identical to a bill that you all passed. I think it was Senate Bill 1248 by Senator Reeves that passed the Senate 40-0. And all it does is allow localities to set up a stormwater grant fund to allow homeowners and HOAs that are having stormwater problems to apply to get money to try to fix their stormwater issues.
Dave, did you draft both of those? Did you draft both? Oh. We have one of those times where Delegate, your House Bill 1614 and Senator Reeves' Senate bill were drafted by these two knuckleheads right over here.
Uh-huh.
And so they're not exactly alike. So we're going to have a bill off right here.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, please explain the differences, and I want you to explain each of the bill that you drafted in 50 words or less. And go.
The main difference, Mr. Chairman, is really just the last sentence. The fund shall exclusively comprise appropriated local monies. I do not believe that the Senate bill had quite that language. It said solely, I believe.
Jeff, you didn't put that in the Senate bill? Oh, you drafted that one?
Same intent, but different language drafted to a different section.
Well, you know what we like to do when that happens? We like to throw Reeves on top and then let you guys go
That's
fight
fine.
it out. Is that
No,
all right?
That's fine.
All right. I mean, that's the best way, just to make sure you get the right
All it
language.
does is say that it's going to be made from local appropriations, correct? Which the bill already says that. It's just different, so.
And we don't want to do any harm to you.
Yeah, no, and I would tend to accept that amendment.
Thank you. And is there a motion to conform, basically to put Reeves' bill on top of his? Motion being properly made, supported by a second. Is Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Or no, wait, first we got to reform. Motion to conform. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, and the bills are conformed. The bill is now in conformed state for us. Is there a motion? Motion to report, is there a second? Second. Second, properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Delegate Cole, we good?
Fine, I'm good with it.
Clerk, open the roll. There you go. Go ahead and close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
I hope you guys work it out in conference. I don't think like it's any big deal. But only bring one of these guys over here, not both of them, because they just can't get it right. I'm sorry. All right. Delegate Landis. Delegate Cole. Delegate Hodges. Our favorite pharmacist.
Sir.
How you doing?
I'll mention that to Chairman Jones, Mr. Chairman.
Why? He's just going to kill all my bills anyway. What good will that make? That's what he does.
Ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully
Why not?
2 simple bills, but I've learned there's no such thing as a simple bill, Mr. Chairman. The first one, let's go with 2316, if that's okay. 2316 simply allows the counties of Caroline and Essex in adopting a voluntary boundary agreement to attach their petitions to the circuit court, a GIS map depicting the boundary change. I think you've seen these before, so it just adds them to the list. So there are a few folks in the last Census Bureau that moved the boundary. And I believe there's also maybe a statewide fix as well. So we're not sure. I guess if both move forward, then the statewide fix would fix all of them. So,
Dave, and this is, Senator Vogel had a bill like this year, right? Was it Vogel? One of them? Okay.
No.
But is it the same as like a Christmas tree bill we're just adding on to? Okay.
That was the Kirby Road bill.
Yeah, the Kirby Road bill. Right. All right. I think we remember that. Is there anyone here, or any questions of the patron? Anyone who would like to speak in favor of this boundary agreement bill? Anybody who's opposed to boundary agreements using GPS?
Second.
Motion to report properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. We are just selling. Selling. Don't buy it.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 2316 reports.
all right.
I don't want to have to explain that on the floor. All right, your next one.
The next one is House Bill 2485 that deals with industrial development authorities. And when we first look at this, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, behind this, actually, we're looking at the work we did in the Rappahannock River Basin Commission, and Senator Hanger is very familiar with this, serving on the commission as past chair, and I also chair that commission now. And we worked over the last 5 years in partnership with the Department of Forestry, local, state, many partners, in quantifying the cost effectiveness of the conservation of retaining forest land as a Chesapeake Bay implementation tool. So what we were able to do is really quantify this over the past 5 years, and for the first time ever in the Chesapeake Bay Program Principal Staff Committee approved crediting forestry as conservation as a BMP in the Bay TMDL. So in looking at this, retention of forestry, you're looking at better water quality at a much lower cost, and actually looking at ways to put dollars into landowners' pockets that retain forestry. So what the studies have shown, and there are large equity firms that are willing to invest in this forest land. And these large equity firms, they want to write one check, nothing less than $50 million. So whether it's $1 billion or $1 million, they want to write one check. So we need to find a way to get those dollars into the landowners' hands. The problem is aggregation of this land. Whether it's 10 acres or 10,000 acres, these large equity firms need a large tracts of land to pull together to write that check. So what this bill does, it allows through IDAs, in the language of the IDAs, to aggregate that forest land and allow through that IDA for these large equity firms to write one check, whether it's $75 million, which actually was done in the Mississippi Delta believe it was $75 million that went out to 1,100 landowners. So it's a free market. This is money we're leaving on the table in Virginia to get in our landowners' hands. So that's the idea, the simple version, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Marston.
Thank you. Is the money distributed then based on the percentage of acres that somebody
And
has, or is it there's some
It's
added
few
value to the
acres,
type
and
of
that is
land?
still actually being worked out and through the equity firms, and I actually have someone that's actually worked on this, Eldon James, who's the executive director of the Rappahannock River Basin Commission, that can speak more to this. And whether it's private land, this could actually be state land, and the state could actually be involved in this in the long run, and it could mean dollars to the state, whether it's state parks or individual landowners. So a lot of that is worked out in the private sector and then the private market. And it's money we're basically leaving on the table at this time.
Senator Marston.
I guess, yeah, what I was trying to get at is whether there's anything beyond acreage that determines it. In other words, is some land more valuable for this purpose than others? Is there
Sure,
a formula
sure.
for working this out, or is
Sure.
it just strictly?
And if I may defer to our local expert at this time, but Eldon can answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Marsden. It depends on several things. One is the type of forest cover, because different forest cover produces different carbon sequestration, and that's what's of value to the private investors, is how much they can gain in the offset. So it could be, so acres, amount of forest land is going to be a factor, the type of trees, and how long the landowner wants to tie their land up. It could be a 5-year term, it could be a 10 or 20-year term. And that's up to the negotiation. That's why the aggregator is so important.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Marston.
I could see where there could be a lot of disagreements here, among the landowners as to what their value, what their cut would be based on, their interpretation. Is that something that, who settles that, or does this end up in court?
No. It's done by a forestry evaluation of each property. And that's done through a scientific process. We have to invite our friends at the Department of Forestry to talk about how those things are done. But yes, that is an established process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone like to speak in support of the bill? Besides Eldon, you're good. Anyone opposed to the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I move the bill be reported.
Motion and a second to report HB 2485.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Chase.
Just a quick comment for the patron. Nothing personal to the patron in general. It's just I have a lot of heartburn as this committee understands about the accountability in our government regarding EDAs and IDAs in general. So if I voted for this, I would be going completely against everything that I believe in. But I appreciate and understand and respect the wishes of the patron, but unfortunately, I personally will not be able to support this bill, although I can understand the need in this situation.
And thank you, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, we're just trying to find a process to make this happen, and we need someone to be able to facilitate this process, and that's the only way that we've been able to do that at this time, so. But thank
Chairman,
you for that comment.
Just a follow-up question.
Senator Chase.
Just one quick question of the patron. Can you assure this committee that any expenditures that are done by this authority would have some type of accountability to the local elected officials? I mean, are they approving any expenditures that take place?
Authorities by statute are accountable to those localities.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was not the right answer.
So, but,
right?
well,
right, Amanda?
that's what,
information.
we
I'm going
understand,
with
Mr.
it.
Chairman, but, yeah.
All right.
But thank you for this.
She doesn't like them.
I understand, Mr. Chairman.
She didn't like them. All right. We have a motion and a second before us to report HB 2485. Clerk, open the roll. Oh, any further discussion? Well, never mind.
12 ayes, 1 nay.
12 ayes, 1 nay. HB 2485 passes or is reported. So
Thank you very much.
thank you, Delegate Hodges. Always good to see you, sir. And I'm sorry, guys. I've got 13 delegates still signed up here. So
Put me on there somewhere.
Where would you like to be? Sure. No, you're on there. You're on the end. You're at the end.
Got quick one,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's in trouble in your office, besides me. Delegate Landis back? No.
We did his, he's got.
Oh, we did. Okay. Delegate Tyler? No. Delegate Rome? Welcome.
Did he just have the one we did it? Yep, did we?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the members of the committee. And Mr. Chairman, my constituents from Haymarket send their best regards to you.
Excellent.
All right. So,
Love Haymarket.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. So this is HB 2375. The quick story with this here is one of my local town councils in my district. They wanted to expedite a zoning ordinance change that was going to happen through the Planning Commission. Planning Commission, by our code, they have at least 100 days to be able to work that out. They wanted them to fast track it, but there wasn't a lot of notice about that. And so some of the residents asked me to kind of help take care of that. And so that's what we're doing here. And so basically what this says that if you want to be able to have basically a reduction in the planning commission's review period, you got to have a public hearing about it first, and then you got to advertise that public hearing in the newspaper and put it online. The putting it online provision that came from Delegate Marshall in our CC&T sub 2 committee, and at the very end it says if one exists. That came from VML. So we've had a nice little group make that happen. And I'd also like to thank our Transparency Caucus co-chair, Senator Chase, for giving this thing a once over and giving it a thumbs up. So thank you.
It's a team effort, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
This
know.
never happens here. Never.
Well, that's because I'm only in my first term, sir.
That's right, right. Just wait till the shine wipes right off of this place for you. Happens in year 2. Then the drinking starts in year 3. Then the oversleeping your bills year 4. All right, enough about me. All right, is there any, I'm just kidding. Is there anyone here who would, questions of the patron first? No? Nope. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Anybody? Anybody? Well, that's Michelle, come on out. Michelle, add your voice.
She said we're good, we're good.
Well, we usually chant Gowdy, Gowdy.
Michelle Gowdy, VML, we appreciate the delegates' time and working with us on this bill, so thank you.
Okay. Anyone in opposition to this bill?
Second.
That's how we operate around here on motion, and we do it quickly, don't we? Motion and report of 2375 being made, supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
You're
House
also
Bill 2375
Thank you very
passes.
kindly. Thank you so much.
You're welcome back here anytime.
Okay.
Of course, he'll be the chair next time. I'm just kidding. That's what he says. That's what he says. Thank you, Delegate. All right. Yes, I'm his puppet. All right, Delegate Jones, SC. Not here. Delegate Tyler, Delegate, we got to get him off. Delegate LaRock. I know you're here. Come on, we got to get down to Delegate Gilbert. We got to get to the last one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We did Tyler.
These are two pretty heavy lists. I guess the town charter would be maybe that's
That's the stuff we love.
2572.
2572. Bearville. All right, 2572. Delegate LaRock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Simply reorganizes the charter of the town of Berryville. Specific amendments include an update of the boundary description, replacing the position of recorder with vice mayor. Further adjustments to our title changes throughout, specifying certain town council appointments, and removing and updating obsolete provisions. That covers most of it. I could read through a couple of other kind of minutia items, but
yeah, why
if
would
you'd
we
like.
do that? Although I do worry that, if we keep approving all these charter bills, then there's no more charter bills to approve, and our usefulness could be questioned. We could be merged into another committee. I mean, we need to maybe throw a couple reds up here, just, maybe not your bill, but,
First we lost grass, then we lost.
I mean, we need to remain relevant, yeah. Grass and.
You could take over grass link from cities, counties, and
We
towns.
do the grass cutting, we do the automobiles are not fixtures, or not planters in front yards. We're through all of it, aren't we? All right, is there anybody who wants to speak in favor of the bill? Question the patron, speak against the bill? Motion to report the town of Berryville's HB 2572 with a second, properly supporting it. Any discussion, no discussion, all in favor, or open roll? All right, LaRock.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. A very bipartisan bill you have there.
Thank you very much.
LaRock.
Second bill is 2569.
It's right
It's
above it.
Child
It's
Care
right above it.
Services and Facilities. This is
All right.
is being conformed to a bill that SB 1094, Senator Favola's bill.
Actually, my bill needs to conform to yours.
Thank you for correcting me there.
Because you narrowed it, in your bill, you're addressing the zoning ordinance
If I could
code
read my-
section. So I need to conform to yours.
Yes, if I could read my own notes, I would have gotten it right, so thank you for correcting me there.
No worries.
Okay, so we've heard this bill before, right? Well,
Yes, we have, and it's a fine bill.
oh, wasn't it us?
No, it was in,
Okay.
yeah, it was
Does
in
this need to go to
rehab.
rehab?
No, this is fine.
Any significant change?
It's really a local government bill. It had childcare in it, so that's why it ended
Oh,
up.
okay, okay.
Expert if you'd like.
All right, and you know what it does? By the
This
conformity
gentleman
of her
can
bill to
explain it
yours?
much more precisely. and
Sure,
quickly.
let me hear about it.
Thank
It's
you,
the bill
Mitch.
you wanted me to kill, right?
That's the next bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Gore on behalf of Loudoun County. The way this played out, the bill that was introduced by the senator went to rehab. It didn't go here. Meanwhile, on the House side, Delegate Rock introduced the identical bill. On the House side, his bill was narrowed in scope to actually be more workable. It was too broadly cast originally. That's our fault because that's what we asked the patrons to do. We realized in talking with with DSS and other stakeholders that the county didn't really need authority to license daycare facilities. All the county was asking for was a better zoning permit process. So we didn't figure that out in time in Senate rehab. So that bill is now in HWI and it will be conformed to what's before you today. So all it does is streamline the process for approving family daycare facilities.
So we like the LaRock bill. The LaRock bill's in good shape.
Yes, we do.
Lavola, you agree with that?
I do.
Anybody else disagree with that?
So
Senator Chase, this has nothing to do with the IDA, but you agree with it? We're okay? Okay. All
I
right,
would
just
move
check.
that we report HB 2569.
Motion being made to report 2569. Is there a second? Second, properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. HB 2569 passes, or is reported, sorry. Thank you. Delegate Tyler? We thought we did your stuff.
You could have went on and passed it.
No, we took you out of the queue because we thought you'd been here.
Hi,
Your
good-
presence precedes you, so that's
Well,
just it. You
thank
have this
you.
nice aura, so it's-
Thank you. I am before you for House Bill 2808. And simply, this bill repeals the old charter that the town of Capron has not changed since 1926. And it establishes a new charter for the town of Capron. And basically, it needed to be updated, but they came up with a problem because they were not able to get a quorum. And they was wondering what procedures that they needed to go by. So they just updated the entire charter for the town of Capron.
Delegate Tyler, I have a bipartisan question from me and my friend Dave Marston.
Yes, sir.
here. We have determined that occasionally there are people that come here with town charters where we have not had the pleasure of visiting, which then we question whether they exist or not. We would just like a little bit of proof. Do you have a picture of Capron or something that would demonstrate that it exists?
A picture of Caper. Well, it's just a little small town in Southampton County with
Is
a
it-
population about 155.
Is that right?
Yeah.
155.
Just 155.
Me and Dave are going to Capron. We're going to Capron. We're going to take over Capron. Wow, that's great. Neat little, when was it established, do you know?
It was established initially in, I can give you that right here. I think it was 1914.
Okay.
Initially established in 1914. Charter was done in 1926 and hasn't been changed since that time.
Everybody, if you get an opportunity out there in Southampton, go visit Capron for them,
We
okay?
appreciate the money.
Yes, there we go, and stop in.
That's
What,
right.
they got a nice restaurant there, got a nice place to
They have
stop?
a little small slip in there.
Oh, good, we're going.
I would move that we report this
Motion
fine
being made
bill.
so that Delegate Tyler's put out of her misery of having to listen to us.
Thank you.
Second, properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none, HB 2808 is before you. Clerk, open the roll.
Thank you, the little town appreciate it.
And tell them we
13
said
ayes, 0
hello.
nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Tell the town of Capron we said hello. And that bill is reported. Okay. Dickie Bell. Delegate Bell.
Mr. Chairman.
This may be the last time that we see you here in local government, and I just want to once again say how proud I am, and I think all of us would agree to have served with you. You were a great statesman and a man that's represented your district exceptionally well. And I don't know that you have an enemy anywhere in this building, and I know that you have 139 other friends. So,
Wow.
thank you for your service to the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
I'm honored to be with you. And as I said earlier, if you want to catch Dickie Bell after this, he'll be in Yankee Stadium, and that's probably where he will be all the time. So, Delegate Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What
This
can
is
we do for you?
House Bill 2420. This bill provides that a wall built on residential property shall be grandfathered as a valid non-conforming use, and the wall shall not be subject to removal solely due to such non-conformity. In any instance where the residential property owner sought local government approval prior to 2008 for construction of a wall on the owner's property, and the property owner was informed by a local official that such wall required no permit, and that the structure would comply with the zoning ordinances, and the wall was thereafter constructed, the locality subsequently informed the property owner that the wall was illegal, and such a wall had been constructed as described in clauses 2 and 3 after 2017, would be considered a valid non-conforming use not subject to removal. That's the technical description.
Wasn't that behind a hedgerow too?
It was.
You couldn't even see the wall.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we remember this. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, sir. Just that this has been going on since 2007, and it's time we put an end to it.
I hear you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Is there any questions of the patron?
No, I was just going to say,
Senator Hanger.
since Delegate Bell is retiring, we owe him one without question, so I move to be reported.
Motion being made to report HB 2420, properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Send you out of here with a wall bill. Close the roll.
Thank you,
13
Mr.
ayes, 0
Chairman,
nays.
members of the.
13 ayes, 0 nays. HB 2420 is reported. May the only wall that you have to look at is the wall where they hit homers
Right
in left,
field.
right field. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Delegate Bell. Thanks again for everything, bud.
He also got the charter bill, but that got
Yes.
same as mine.
Yeah. We reported his other charter bill, right, DB? Okay. All right. Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I've got a simple little bill here.
That's what I hear.
That prohibit localities from including in areas designated as RPAs in a cluster zoning density calculation, that area. I believe there is an amendment that's been circulated on this side of the Capitol. They were nice enough to share it with me this morning. Can't say that I'm totally supportive of it.
Got an amendment, guys?
Dealing with the governing body's action. This came about because of a subdivision in my neighborhood that was platted years ago. sold 2 or 3 times, and then when they came in, they just kind of went and clear cut it, and the community got very upset about it. And they did the calculations, and they figured that the RPA allowed them to get a few more lots potentially than they would have gotten normally. So this just addresses the issue of not allowing the RPA to be considered in the calculation.
Okay, Delegate Jones, we're not aware, my guys here aren't aware of any amendment. Do you
Okay,
have
well, that's
it?
good.
All right.
I like that.
All
But
right.
I'll just be in full disclosure.
All right, somewhere it stopped somewhere in the
Okay.
pipeline.
So, and I'll be glad to answer any questions, but that's simply
Sure.
what it does. It's just that you shouldn't be allowed to include that to get a density bonus if you really can't include it in a by right subdivision, because if you have a 12,000 square foot lot or 10,000 square foot lot, it fits within the parameters. I do know when I asked Jeff to draft this back in December, we went around and around to figure out how to make it simple and make it work as best we could figure from the concerns that were from back home.
Jeff, are there any legal issues that you think the committee needs to be aware of in your drafting that maybe would help us with this? That's helpful. All right, are there any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Chase, cut to the chase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question for the patron. I've had a number of people reach out to my office with concerns about this. I just want to make sure that I thoroughly understand what this bill does. I understand it kind of flew in the House, but can you kind of explain to us the origination for the purpose for the bill, how you came up with the idea?
There were 2 subdivisions in the city that were done under the clustering provision. One of them was a large acre, over 100 acres. One was a much smaller, maybe 16 acres. Both used the same provision of the code. The larger project had a lot of fingers where the RPA would have really severely limited what you could have done in a by right subdivision. They took and could use that acreage to aggregate the property to 100 acres, and then they could do so many lots based on that project. Typically in a by right, as I understand it, you take out your roads and your infrastructure, which is about 20%. And down our way in Hampton Roads with the Chesapeake Bay Act, you can have a real impact on the total acreage that's available for development. So this was a way I thought that would kind of level the playing field, because you can't build on it, so you shouldn't necessarily get credit for open space because you can't build on it now. So that's the genesis behind it, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Chase?
Delegate Jones. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out, the end game here then is to, it looks like if you had a property that's 20 acres with a density of 4 units per acre, you would build up to 80 units. If there were 3 acres of that property as an RPA, leaving only 17 acres, the number of units is reduced to 68. So I think my concern with this is, are we creating an unintended consequence of too much density?
Well, first, Senator
these
Chase,
locations?
math is not allowed on this committee. I told you that's one of the rules we have. But go ahead. Now you bring in Jonesy over here, who does nothing but math. So now I'm really confused. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your question. Go ahead. Did you understand her question?
Yeah, I believe so. I think to answer the question as best I can, it depends on the property and how it's configured. They had an example in the subcommittee in the House where they showed it one way and the other way, and they could, I think, essentially get the same number of lots, but it was configured differently. Okay. And from my perspective, the allowance of taking property that you cannot build on, getting a bonus density for not building on it, just didn't make sense to me. I was here when we approved this, so I have to take full credit for it being before us as law. And I didn't really realize the sum and substance of the impact until we had 2 subdivisions in the city, because you have to be a jurisdiction that has grown more than 10%, I believe, Mr. Counsel, and that pulls Suffolk into it. So I thought it was fairly straightforward. There were a few that spoke in opposition to the bill over in the House, and there were some concerns about giving more authority to the local governments to say whether they wanted to go this route or not go this route. And that's what I thought the amendment was going to be offered today in that regard. If you wanted to put an amendment on it and put it into conference, I'm certainly glad to try to, I'm not trying to push anything through that's not fair, but I do believe this treats the intent of what we were trying to accomplish in the very beginning.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Delegate Jones. I would be interested in hearing any opposition to the bill.
Well, let's start with anybody who wants to stand up, or first, any other questions of the patron? Okay, you passed out pretty good. Anyone in support of this bill, HB 2549, please come forward. Anyone who stands in opposition of HB 2549, please step forward. Hey, wait a minute. Delegate Elbow, we haven't called you yet. You're down in the queue.
Dave Albo.
Wait. Delegate versus delegate. This
I'm a
is
delegate
awesome.
has-been. That's my official title now.
Well, we still call you delegate.
All right.
You're one of our favorites.
So I am representing today the home builders. And the home builders stand in opposition. We did send Delegate Jones an idea for an amendment. He didn't like it, so we didn't decide to put it in because it didn't solve the controversy.
I do have a suggestion.
Oh, it's getting good, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
So,
See if the camera can pan over.
For those of you who don't live in areas of cluster development, think of a lot that has 10 acres, zoned 1 house per acre. And what the builder can do is come in and just put 1 house per acre, just wipe out all the trees, put 1 house per acre, got by right, okay? The idea of the cluster is, let's make some rules so if the developer does us a favor and puts the 10 houses on 5 acres and preserves 5 acres, we don't have to make him jump through a bunch of hoops, okay? Also, the cluster bill or zoning ordinance allows density credits to kind of even sweeten the pie more, which is what Delegate Jones was talking about. If you do us a favor and you reposition the house, we will let you build a couple more houses, okay? So that's the current law. What his bill says is that you can't get any credit for open space for RPAs, for resource protection areas. And that, I can understand why that would make sense. The problem is that the way the cluster zoning works is it's an incentive. We're trying to get builders to do something that they, not do something they can already do. They can already wipe out the thing and put 10 houses on it. We're trying to incentivize them to move the houses. And so when you put more rules on the cluster zoning, such as not getting credit for RPA, it creates a disincentive to cluster, and it creates an incentive for the builders to do what they're already allowed to do and not reposition the houses. So we would hope that you vote in opposition to the bill.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Sigler, Fairfax County. We also oppose the bill for the it's a strange day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take us back to Delegate Murphy's bill.
Builders and counties working together
today.
Dogs and cats living together, mass
and
hysteria.
It's a good day. I want to take you back to earlier when we talked about Delegate Murphy's bill and you asked about trees in Fairfax County. This is part of the reason we have trees in Fairfax County, because we can incentivize, just like he said, developers to preserve that open space by doing this having our clustering ordinance and doing these cluster developments. And our concern is that if this bill passes and you start excluding RPA from the calculation, it's a disincentive for developers to do that, and we'll lose our ability. So this is a tool in the toolbox thing, and we oppose this bill. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak in opposition to 2549?
Rebuttal?
Sure, of course.
Of
course, we're just hoping the bill
my
gets out of
former
the courts
colleague,
from what
dear
we're saying.
friend, Delegate Albo, exactly what happened in Suffolk was they took every tree off the property down to dirt and used the clustering provision and did not preserve the trees. There was 17 acres and the land had previously been used for cut timber, and they would replenish it. If I would be willing to accept an amendment that would say that you would not allow it unless the locality by ordinance would choose to, you'd exclude it unless the locality by ordinance, chose to include it, and then they had like Fairfax, the right, ordinances approach that it would take in doing the plat, subdivision, and the above, because not all are applying it in a way that it should be, in my opinion. But it's certainly the will of this committee. But I did want to mention that they had that, and I figured they would be speaking against it. But to me, that would be a way to address the problem. You exclude it unless a jurisdiction has the provision, plans to deal with the clustering in a way that was just described by Fairfax County. That's my best lawyer approach.
That was
I've
very
used it
nice. I'm
from
very impressed.
Delegate Elbow.
Well done. Much better than elbow. All right. All right. Is there any further question of the patron based on his rebuttal?
Yeah. Do our attorneys have that conceptually? No? You don't? Might need to work on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, what that gentleman from Fairfax was inserting, it would be on line, where's the foregoing? On line 44, after foregoing comma, they were going to put in the governing body of any county, city, or town may by ordinance provide that. So my suggestion was you would, keep the foregoing, the density calculation shall not include resource protection area in accordance with, after State Water Control Board, and say, except when a governing body of any county would so choose to include the RPA with a comprehensive, I don't know, Jeff, what would be the right term, plan, because the citizens feel in Suffolk that the city and the state, when they put this together, while well-intended, the application has not worked as we had hoped. And that might, I know I may be trying to split the baby, and I understand if it's not ready for prime time at the will of the committee, but we had two instances where it did not work as it should have, and a whole lot of trees were torn down, and that's what got the community so upset, was the fact that they didn't have to. And it dealt with three things that we've been before this committee. We extended the life of plats by 10 years, and they were under the old stormwater regulations, and you had the clustering provision. And so the city said what you had to do is go in and, because of the old plat, cut everything down to the ground and start over. And so
Mr.
that's the
Chairman.
reason I'm before you.
Mr. Chairman, I just, as I understand the amendment, you would then make it permissive. The county would decide whether
Yes,
to count
ma'am.
the resource protection area in the
Yes.
total land calculation.
And we could potentially grandfather, if I may, if someone already has, a comprehensive type plan that they deal with that, then they would be exempt.
May I ask the two larger?
Ooh, this sounds like me and Crim Sub
Mr.
trying
Chairman.
to save my license
Mr.
suspension bill
Mr.
last night.
Chairman.
I was willing to do just
Mr.
about
Chair-
everything, including waxing Ty Gilbert's car for a month.
Mr. Chairman.
Didn't work.
May I ask the two respondents, was a
Respondents.
representative of the home builders, and I believe a representative of Fairfax County, what they think of the amendment?
He's scrambling. You gonna help him? Throw him a life raft?
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association. It feels like a
Do you guys
proper
want to take a
meeting.
second and see if you can huddle up and see if there's something you can do real quick? If not, do you want to?
Mr. Chairman,
He's a very powerful man.
I'm very fine with that, and
I was talking about Andrew.
I know that.
I know,
I know
right.
that. But I'm fine with huddling and seeing, but I just think there could be a way we could come to some agreement.
I mean, I'll give you a couple minutes, but
Okay.
this
All right.
train's gonna leave the station
Okay.
pretty quickly here. All right, go over in this room right here. We're gonna give you 5 minutes. We're gonna come in and check on you. This looks like Proffer 2.0, doesn't it? All right, who's next? Delegate Campbell. You poor thing. You've been sitting through this whole thing, brand new. Look at that. You liking what you're doing?
Yes, sir, and it's very complicated, too.
You want a do-over?
No,
You sure?
but
All right.
we're good. House
Please
Bill
do not bring us a
2660.
cluster bill, okay? No cluster bill, okay?
No pressure.
Thank you, Delegate.
House Bill 2660. It's a charter change for the town of Glasgow. In order to get in compliance with state regulations, they've requested that their town sergeant be reclassified as chief of police. This was requested by the city manager, John Elstad, and the city council unanimously endorsed this.
What I'm to understand in my notes here, the chief of police it has powers of the sheriff to collect taxes, levies, and fines and service and return of process. So basically, you're anointing the chief of police to do within the town what the sheriff is already empowered to do in the county. Is that right?
Yes.
And Senator Marsden, one of our Northern Virginia friends, has seen Glasgow's name on probably I-81. And he would like you just to describe the town because he wants to go visit all these small towns he's changing the charters of.
Small town, USA.
It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
Beautiful place.
The gentle fold of God's palm, right?
Yes.
Right, and we have trees, right?
No,
Trees?
sir, as a matter of fact, they don't.
Yeah, right, but we have
It's
trees.
very compact.
Right.
They don't have any trees inside the city.
That's right. All right, any questions for the delegate?
Move that we report the bill.
Motion to report and properly supported by a second to report Delegate Campbell's bill HB 2660. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, clerk open the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Campbell. Welcome to the General Assembly. Sorry to make you wait, but you should blame your staff.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays. HB 2660 reports. Torian. Lukey. Reverend Luke.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I have House Bill 2670, which is a...
And you do not want to conform this
No, sir.
sucker at all. All right, what bill would we conform it to, DB or Jeff? Oh, yeah, you definitely don't want to conform to Surville's bill.
No, sir.
All right, so why do we not want to conform?
I do not want to conform because Delegate Survey is just asking for too many things in it. And I told the town of Dumfries and the mayor that I would come and present a very simple bill that's asking them to change their election date, have some budget submittal requirements, and some mid-year budget reviews. And a few of the other things that Senator Survey wants to get involved with, I'm just not in total agreement.
Man, you're not the first one to come up here and say, man, I don't want to get involved with whatever Surville's get involved with. Now, tell me what happened. Surville's has passed out of here, right? It passed, right?
It passed.
It's over in the House right now, Delegatorian. Are you going to blow that thing up over there for us so that only your vehicle is the one that passes through?
I'm going to do my very best.
Can you give us a hint of whether you got a good shot?
I think I do.
Tight-lipped.
Oh, no, I have not seen, it has not come before.
I mean,
yet.
but so here we have two charter changes, though, that are, how can they live
Actually,
in
it appears they're not
congruity?
in conflict. Is that the case?
Are they in conflict?
Yeah.
But Surville goes.
But Surville does more. That's why Luke doesn't want it to conform. He doesn't want us to lay ours on top of his. And I'm going to respect his wishes.
Okay. Well, given that, we could report this bill out.
All right, Delegatorian, you've never let us down ever before, so I'm going to do what you want to do, okay? We have the
Thank
bill
you, sir.
before us.
I'm sorry.
We have the bill before us.
This will be reported.
Motion report properly supported by a second has been made of HB 2670. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Is there anybody, is there anybody here that wants to speak for or against this bill?
No.
Okay. All right, bill's
Mr.
before us.
Chairman?
Well, okay.
I would just like the opportunity to hear from Senator Surville, so I'm going to be either abstain or a no
Well,
vote.
I was going to do that. You don't have to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so Luke, I'm just going to put it up so we can put it on the floor for Surville, okay?
Yes, sir,
We'll
Mr.
report this bill, but we'll do it with an abstention.
Okay, sir.
That gets me on the floor, right, guys?
If all of us vote
Okay,
aye.
all right, because I don't want to vote against you, Lukey.
Thank you, sir.
All right, open the roll. Oh, there's Jason's joining us. All right, close the roll. Whoa, McPike. You can just tell her what you want.
McPike goes aye.
Okay, close the roll.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 2
11 ayes,
abstentions.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 2 abstentions on HB 2670 reports. And we'll try we'll be your ambassador on this one and see what we can do with Serval. He's in the Supreme Court across the street right now.
Yes, sir.
So we'll let him know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Always great to see you, sir. Hold on. Pardon me 1 second to do a little housekeeping here. Campbell's been done. I've never seen so many. Delegate Jones, SC Jones. Okay. Delegate Knight. We don't need Chris Peace anymore.
Mr. Chairman, have House Bill 2686, and it goes to Board of Zoning Appeals. It was brought to me by an attorney that goes before the Board of Zoning Appeals a fair amount. And the law now says a majority of the board. What I think it needs to say is a majority of those present and voting. And I can give you an example. If you have a 7-member Board of Appeals board and you have 5 present, you have a quorum. They vote to pass something 3-2, and the vote doesn't carry because you did not have,
It's got to be 4, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I've brought this bill forward. I've heard of no one that's given me a good reason why we shouldn't approve the bill. I've heard someone say, well, it's always been the law, so we ought not change the law, but anyway.
Well, Delegate Knight, I mean, a lot of the people that are put on the Board of Zoning Appeals are, of course, citizens, right? Who have
right.
jobs and have
That's right.
obligations, all
That's
right?
right.
Members of the community that can be there and sometimes they can't. And these are dealing with important issues that can't wait just because somebody's not here, right?
That's right.
Okay. Any questions to the patron? Anyone want to speak in favor of this bill? Anyone want to speak in opposition to this bill? Oh, here comes Fairfax. Shh.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Ziegler, Fairfax County. I'm one of those folks that didn't give Delegate Knight a good reason as to why this bill should go away. I will tell you that a couple of things. The way this works in Fairfax County right now, and this has always been segregated out in the law differently, handled differently in the law, because I think the zoning administrator is presumed to have some knowledge of the zoning ordinances, and they should be harder, more difficult to overturn. In Fairfax County, we have a 7 board of zoning appeals, 7 members. So right now it takes 4 votes. If Delegate Knight's bill passes, then a quorum would be 4 of those folks, and so you could overturn a zoning administrator's decision with 3 votes. The effect of that, I think, is going to be we're going to see more zoning administrator decisions overturned, and the effect of that is Fairfax County will litigate those cases to try to uphold those decisions. So litigation costs for the taxpayers will rise, and litigation costs for the folks pursuing these appeals will also rise. So for those reasons, we oppose the bill.
Anyone else want to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Bob Mathias, I'm actually in support of this bill.
Okay.
I didn't think anybody was going to get up, or I would have gotten up very quickly. I think you enunciated it very clearly. These are volunteers who work on this board. Sometimes life gets in the way and they can't be here. You shouldn't be putting the citizen that puts a lot of time and effort into coming before the board at a disadvantage where it gets kicked down the road for another month.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, and how often, I mean, some of these BZAs don't meet every week or monthly or even quarterly.
And
right?
the vast majority of the votes in Virginia Beach, Mr. Chairman, are unanimous. We rarely have any dissents. I can't speak for others, but I just, Delegate Knight's experiences in Virginia Beach, and I'm just speaking from our experience.
Years ago in Virginia Beach, I lost a case before the BZA. And I'll tell you that story off record.
I'm sure they were misguided, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
No. I kept reversing the Z and the B, and it was,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question.
Think that through.
Delegate Knight,
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're trying to do. You got to move, the world has to move along, but I guess what gives me a little concern is that, you start controlling the fate of bills by who shows up to the meeting and who doesn't. It kind of puts it, out of public view, and gee whiz, I would have voted that way. I wouldn't have killed the bill, but gee, I couldn't be there. That kind of thing, and that gives me a little concern. I know that's a game that gets played here to some extent, but in that situation with such a small group of people, 1 or 2 people could determine the fate of something without ever having to vote. just, not showing up. Is that of any concern to you?
Oh, yes, sir. That's why I brought the bill, because people know that they've got a hard vote, so they don't show up, or they're sitting there and they see a hard vote coming, so they run in that little room over there so they don't have to vote. So what I want to do is tell the localities, if you want to put someone in an important position, like the Board of Zoning Appeals, don't accept this job unless you want to be there and show up on time, because you have these citizens that maybe for 6 or 7 or 8 months have gone through the process and they've got something they need, and then someone decides not to show up, So I think it's an abdication of duties.
Look at you. Zoning board policeman. All right. The bill is before us. Motion made to report. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, properly supporting the motion to report of HB 2686. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Can you do that? You didn't grant your proxy. You cannot record Lewis's vote. He didn't grant her proxy unless it's on the machine. So strike the board. Let's just strike the board. Try it again. We've had these issues. All right, clerk, open the roll. No, you're fine. I think it's a good bill. Close the roll.
10 ayes, 1 nay.
10 ayes, 1 no. HB 2686 is reported, and I guess I'll have to talk about it. And I'll try to use them fighting words you gave me right there at the end. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Always good to see you. All right, let's see. S.C. Jones, Collins, Ingram. Let's go with Riley.
Mr. Chairman.
And
Mr.
you're
Chairman,
next, Gilbert.
Delegate Ingram was with us for a good while, and he had to leave as the distinguished chair of County Cities in Town. And as a retiring member, I have a bill of his here, which is House Bill 2621, which Senator Reeves had a bill that if we make one amendment to it, it will be identical.
It was also my bill as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, DB.
Mr. Chairman, it's just one line amendment on line 21, after the word plan, striking the word a and inserting the word any. Or I'm sorry.
Take over 2 seconds.
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there a motion that we adopt that amendment? Second motion, probably supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we have the bill. It was identical now with that amendment to a bill previously passed by the Senate. 4 did nothing. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report House Bill 2621 as amended. Clerk, open the roll. Now we got to see how many seats out here.
Thank you.
11 ayes, 0 nays.
11 ayes, 0 nays. HB 2621 is reported. Was that conforming, or is that just?
We just added one amendment. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Then.
All right, let's see who's next here. Collins, Gilbert, Delegate Gilbert. What?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have House Bill 2585.
Welcome, Delegate Gilbert.
Sir.
2585. All right.
This was brought to me by my local sheriff, just to tell you why something like this ends up before us. Apparently, there was a trooper in a nearby jurisdiction that was noticing that the sheriff's vehicles in a couple of my counties didn't have the exact specificity required by the code on their markings, and which brought to the attention of my sheriff the very ridiculous specificity in the code with regard to their markings, and he asked me if I could try to address that. So this is our best effort at trying to remove the antiquated specificity with regard to sheriff's vehicle markings. I will note, Mr. Chairman, that sheriff's vehicles can be unmarked currently under current law, but if they are marked, they have to have this very elaborate positioning of the star and the word sheriff in the star and the seal of the Commonwealth and whatnot. So part of my knee-jerk reaction was just to remove any of that entirely, but I thought we should probably leave the requirement that the word sheriff and the locality name appear in the markings. This is my pivotal legislation for the 2019 election cycle, so I would appreciate
Is this smaller government? Shrinking down
less
stickers?
stuff. Yeah, I think so.
Less
Yes, sir.
stickers, smaller
Yes, sir.
government, less
Think so.
cost.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Marsden?
question for the patron.
Sure.
Of course.
Do you have any idea what the cost of this would be to redo some of the
You
stuff?
don't have to
around the
redo any
state?
of them, Senator. Respectfully, I don't think you would have to redo any of them. I think that when you have a sheriff's vehicle, it's just a minimum requirement. So
Okay.
if any of them have anything beyond that, I don't think it would violate or run afoul of this section. And then
So-
if they got a new paint scheme, it would require less lettering and stars and glitter and
Yeah,
whatnot.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Marsden?
So you think that probably pretty much everybody qualifies for the minimum at this point?
Well, I don't know. I don't know jurisdiction to jurisdiction what, I'm not, I want to make sure. I'm-
That they meet they have the minimum lettering and.
No, I'm not sure they do. In fact, I'm not sure my own jurisdiction has the positioning of the star in the right place and whatnot, and which is, again, what prompted the legislation, which is that a senior trooper sort of pointed out, hey, you don't have the star in the right place, and it sort of prompted a ridiculous discussion about what the code requires, and that's why we're here.
And Delegate Gilbert, what I'm seeing too is a lot of these departments are putting it's almost like a competition in terms of pizzazz that they have on their cars as well, which kind of changes everything around. And then they've got to go back to the star and the wording around the star, I think, is part of it too.
Right. Yeah, you have to have, I think currently you have to have sheriff's office in the half circle above the seal and the jurisdiction in the half circle below the seal. Anyway, that's part of what we're striking.
And the county city shall be placed in a half circle below the seal. Sheriff's office shall be placed in the rear of the trunk. I mean, it's pretty specific.
Yeah. Look,
small government.
I don't even, probably
Okay.
if we had to do this over, we'd maybe do it a different way, and I wouldn't even be trying to get in.
So basically, if they have the word sheriff's office and the county or city on the car, that's good enough for you, whether it's on the back or front. Doesn't matter, just somewhere conspicuous.
Yeah, again, if we were starting from scratch, yes, sir, I might even do it differently, but correct, yes, the short answer is yes, but I think even more ridiculous if they don't even have to be marked at all. So the entire fleet of the sheriff's office cars under current law could be unmarked. If they are marked, it requires this elaborate set of rules. I will note for your benefit that police agencies do not have any of these requirements for police cars at all. So that's another facet of this. And again, the police don't even have to be marked. If they are marked, they don't have any rules. And Mr. Jones, if he was here, sort of knew the backstory going back to the 60s of how this all got in here in the first place. The Sheriff's Association is here. I think they're in favor of the bill, but I don't know. I don't recall the backstory as well as Mr. Jones did.
Mr.
Do you think it needs to be on the back tail?
From the Sheriff's Association.
It requires it on the back bumper, or I think it said that. Placed on the rear of the vehicle. You've struck that completely, so you don't think that rear of the vehicle should have that kind of marking?
I don't
'Cause
have
you have
any-
front side doors.
Right.
I mean, and then that's it.
And
No rear of the vehicle.
I don't have any, other than trying to simplify the other stuff, I'm not wedded to that necessarily. If you think that it needs to be conspicuously marked on the back, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Favola.
This bill does no harm. I'm going to move that we report it.
No harm
Unless you
bill.
want to continue the conversation.
Because we have very harmful bills here in the local government, like charter bills. They're so harmful. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Anybody want to speak in favor of this bill or against this bill? Come up together, because I think you're probably a sheriff, and then you're probably a wanted person, so we can
Lieutenant
get you guys
Virginia
together.
Sheriff's Association, we support the bill.
All right, thank you. Thank you for what you do, keeping us safe. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
We didn't have a brown uniform.
Yeah, how come his uniform wasn't brown? Hey, the lettering wasn't conspicuously on his
Dark
uniform.
brown or some other solid color.
Right.
No, that's the car, I'm sorry. All uniforms, no, the first part is all about uniforms, which is sort of, anyway, I didn't write it.
Should we look him up and down and see if he's in compliance? All right, there's a motion report. Is there a second? Did I hear one?
Second.
Second.
Working together as a team over there. All right, is there any further discussion?
D's.
You are the Ds. Hearing no further discussion, clerk open the roll and let Amanda Chase determine his fate with her 18 proxies.
Oh, wow.
She's
Thank
the
you,
most
Mr.
powerful person on local
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
government. Yes, sir. Thank you, Delegate Gilbert. Thank you for being here. Thank you for playing.
Yes, sir.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays, HB 2585 reports, and I don't have to talk about it. All right, let's see, Jones. Delegate Jones? What do you got here?
Upon further review, as they like to say, when we got in the room, I guess it's your green room, we decided that we would go with the amendment that was suggested by the opposition. We would ask to put a reenactment clause for 2020. They have agreed that they would take some land use attorneys and work with the city of Suffolk and other local governments to try to help them understand maybe the best way that the cluster provision should be, I guess, utilized in the city. And I think that is a good compromise. And I would ask that the committee consider those amendments to my bill.
A reenactment clause. I've had one of those one time.
I think I've only had one other time. And if you don't like reenactment clauses, then just, vote it up or down, and I'm fine with that.
I had one. It didn't work out that well the next year.
Yeah, I think that the intent for me is to make sure that there's work that's done in the interim to try to help resolve the issues that exist in the city of Suffolk.
Peace in the Valley, Fairfax, Builders. Andrew? Oh, got one thumbs up. Andrew, tepidly, okay. You're walking like a praying mantis towards Jonesy here. He's going to rip your head off or something. What's going on over there, Andrew? You good?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Reenactment clause coming back next year. All right, Dave, can you make those amendments? Can you announce them? Do we need to understand them better? Not yet, we have not.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding there are two amendments then. The first one would be in line 44. After the word foregoing, inserting a phrase that says, "The governing body of any county, city, or town may by ordinance provide that." So I can read that again if you like.
Yeah, do that.
So line 44, it would say, the foregoing, comma, "The governing body of any county, city, or town may by ordinance provide that the density calculation," and it goes on.
Okay, so that makes it permissive.
And then
Permissive. And then a reenactment clause?
Right, so the second line amendment would be a reenactment clause at the end of the bill, after line 76, that says, the provisions of this act shall not take effect unless, I believe, reenacted by the 2020 session of the General Assembly.
Okay, we understand it?
Mr. Chairman, I move the amendments.
Motion to move the amendments, is there a second? Second being properly supporting of that motion, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The amendments are included and incorporated.
I move to, second.
2549.
You move to report as amended.
Motion to report as amended House Bill 2549. Is there a second?
Second.
Wait, you made the motion. Second.
No, he did.
You guys aren't working together too well. All right, first and a second being made on HB 2549. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Oh, I made a mistake.
Which has never happened today.
Okay, I want to vote aye, but I can't change it.
Favola, if you go back up, if you just keep hitting. She's got it. Okay.
10 ayes, 2 nays.
10 ayes, 2 nays. Now I have to explain this on the floor. So, is that what you did, Chase?
Blame it on me.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Jones. Nice to see you. All right, let's see, who's, Delegate Leftwich?
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good, good. If I can keep my stuff,
Sure.
drop my stuff.
Don't drop
So
your
I have
stuff.
two bills. Which order would you like to take them in?
Whatever way you want them killed first.
All right, so let's go with House Bill 2286 first.
2286, oh,
Yes.
there we go.
So, and then in its amended form, this bill would exempt the Chesapeake Hospital Authority from the Investment Public Funds Act. Senator Sproul had an identical bill, which I understand passed out of committee unanimously and on the Senate floor unanimously.
We didn't have that here. We've had this bill in the Senate.
before?
Senate Bill 1088.
Right, but wasn't with us.
We need to refer this over to Ed now. Do they have another meeting? I don't know if this has anything to do with local government, guys.
What's that?
Chesapeake Hospital Authority
Chesapeake Hospital Authority is a public body politic.
exempts them from the Investment of Public Funds Act. I'm not trying to do any harm to you, Bill Leftwich, I promise. Well, we'd love to report it for you, guys. So we did have it.
Just take over the world.
And when did it go out? So Spruill's went out what? Unanimous? All right, do I have a motion to report? And his, wait a minute, is there anything different? Are they the same bills, guys? They're the same, okay. All right, sorry. Never mind. All right, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
Move to report.
You guys are really tired today, aren't you? Motion and a second to report House Bill 2286. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll.
Scott, you need to vote, you're an aye.
No, she's killing you over here. You voted for more crap you never would vote for, ever.
Mr. Sherbo, an aye. I removed your proxy because you were off the premises.
All right, close the roll.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays. HB 2286 reports. Thank you, Leftwich.
Okay, and the second bill, I believe, is House Bill 2305.
2305.
There was no Senate version of this, but it is a Code Commission bill. And essentially, wherever you see a description of a locality in 15.2, you will now see the name of a locality. So it's kind of just a cleanup bill for 15.2.
Excellent, a very good bill. Like Cape Ron, right? Was it Cap Ron?
That was the bill today.
Cap Ron. Right. All right, anybody have a question about that? Code Commission correction? Now, so each bill, each code section which within 15.2 spells out Norfolk, Capron, Glasgow, Rocky Mount, same thing, right?
It's going to have the name instead of a description.
much
Mr.
is
Chairman,
that gonna
I
cost?
move that we report the bill.
How much does that cost with all those book changes? It's gotta be expensive. Motion to second report. Is there anyone who wants to speak for or against this bill? Seeing none, a motion being properly made and supported by a second. Clerk, open the roll.
Why do we always take the Code Commission?
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you, Delegate Leftwich. We take the Code Commission's word for it because who else would serve on the Code Commission unless they knew what they were doing, right? I mean, if you're gonna serve on that thing, you gotta. All right, let's see. Is that it? Is that all we got? Oh, okay. Let's go with the peace bill. Peace pipe.
2012, Mr. Chairman.
It was a very good year for me. 2012.
Mr. Chairman, 2012 seeks to add members to the King William Industrial Development Authority, I believe.
From 17 on.
Yeah, they have federally recognized tribes there, and they want to include them in their master planning for economic development.
So this is an IDA bill, Senator Chase.
Uh-oh.
Just reminding. Okay. All right, is there any, anybody here to speak in favor of HB 2012? Seeing none, anybody opposed to HB 2012?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we report HB 2012.
Seeing none, motion being made to report the bill. Second, supporting the motion to report HB 2012. Clerk, open the roll. Did Murphy's bill come out of here?
Yes, it
Jeez.
is. Unanimous.
Amanda, you're killing me, bro. Close roll.
10 ayes, 1 nay.
10 ayes, 1 nay, and House Bill 2012 reports. All right.
Okay. Yeah, good job.
This is an unfunded mandate on it.
Mr. Chairman, are we rising?
We still have.
Are we done? Or what do we got? You got one more? What is it? What is it? What is it? Who is it? Oh. I could rise, couldn't I? I can rise. I'm not here to go.
We better hear it.
I don't have to hear anything. Yes, you know, it's the people that want you to come. Delegate Collins.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee.
House Bill 2465.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bill brought to me by AAA, and it deals with the red light camera data. Basically, this bill does two things. First of all, if a locality has a website, they are to provide on that website the data from the red light cameras. This is not pictures of people's cars going through. This is a number of vehicles going through the intersections and when they have a serious accident to make sure that we can use this for planning purposes for when we redesign our roadways and for intersections. The other aspect of this is that when a locality is instituting a monitoring system, they should give the public a 15-day probationary period during which no summonses shall be issued pursuant to the section. They may issue an advisory letter for violations, but they cannot issue a ticket for 15 days after they implement a red light camera system to give everyone fair notice and fair warning that it's happening. Patrick Cushing from AAA is here to answer any questions if you have any, as to why AAA thinks this is a necessary bill.
First, are there any questions of the patron? Hearing none. Yes, sir.
Everyone's right there.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
members of the committee, Patrick Cushing, representing AAA. We brought this bill to Delegate Collins. AAA has looked at the Commonwealth's red light camera system over the past couple of years and want to focus on evaluating these programs and looking and make sure that when these programs are used, that they are reducing accidents, injuries, and fatalities. Delegate Collins gave a great explanation of what the bill does. I do know that I'd like to point to line 142 on page 3 of the bill. I had a discussion with Senator Marsden, and the word probationary on line 142 is probably not necessary to leave in there and may muddle things a little bit. I think the intent is clear with the language. If you take out the word probationary, I think that's something that if anyone on the committee wanted to offer that amendment, we would certainly be okay with it. And then the bill also, I'll point out, the one additional item has a delayed enactment date of June 30th, 2020, to allow localities time to implement the provisions of this act.
Yeah, I move the amendment.
I will second.
You,
And that's
Dave,
taking
you wanna
out
tell us what that
probationary
amendment would
on
be?
line 143.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we said line 143, striking the word probationary. Is that correct? Or
Correct.
142?
I have it on 142.
Okay.
I might
So-
have, hopefully.
I just wanted to make sure.
Should it be both?
My apologies.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Favole.
It's on probationary is on both lines, though. It's on line 142, a 15-day probationary
Right.
period.
I see.
And to 143.
And then a locality may issue a letter for violations recorded during that probationary period. So if you're taking it out of one,
Yes,
I would suggest you also take it out of line 143. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
It should say that during that period, I guess.
All right. And we're taking you off of probation. So is that amendment, do we have a motion on that amendment? Two
So
amendments?
moved.
Second.
Motion second on the amendments, removing probationary from two parts of this, starting at line 142 and ending on the end of 143. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the bill as amended is before us. And before I let loose Senator Chase on you, let me ask you this. Doesn't this put an unfunded mandate on the localities?
That was
They
my
have a
question.
website to really, to maintain this kind of information, to do all of this stuff that you're asking, really kind of puts on any locality, whether it be a county, city, or town, a cost to the taxpayer, does it not?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it may add a marginal cost. I would say that the version of the bill that you have before you is what I would call like a V3. I worked with VACO, VML, the city of Virginia Beach. I've sent the draft prior to introducing to Newport News, the city of Richmond. Took in a numerous amounts of edits, particularly from VML, and actually the chiefs of police gave some great feedback so that we minimize any potential financial impact to localities. The information that you see being reported or required to report on the website in the bill is information that's already collected and evaluated by the locality. So it exists in the locality and is collected. We're just asking for it to be put on the website.
And when you say publish, let's say a town has these cameras but does not have a website. What do you mean?
If they don't have a website, they do not have to publish the information. So we're not requiring a locality to put a website up if they don't already have an existing website. But if they have an existing website, then the information would have to be published.
Under 128, paragraph M, any locality that uses a traffic light signal violation monitoring system to enforce traffic light signals shall publish an annual report consisting of the number of types of violations and all that. Such report shall include a financial summary and gross revenues and any amounts paid to any private entity, right?
Correct.
And it doesn't say, and then it says, if the locality maintains a website, this report shall be made available on the locality's website. But it does not say, if the locality has no website, that it doesn't have to be published. So what methodology are you going to employ to publish this? What town, what are they going to have to make 5,000 copies and leave it at the town council? They gonna have to print some copies or something? I mean, or how are they gonna publish? Put it in the newspaper, buy an ad? Get a newspaper reporter to provide a friendly report for it, to write it up for them? What's gonna happen? Because I don't see where
Right.
you say that if they don't have a website, they don't have to collect this information and publish it.
Mr. Chair, great point of clarification. They wouldn't have to build a website just simply to publish this as far as the reporting is concerned. We left that completely open to the locality for them to best evaluate what is the least cost-effective way for
So you
them
would
to-
agree with me that they have to publish it one way or the other, whether they have a website or not, correct?
I don't believe it's publishing, Mr. Chairman. I believe it's just reporting. So there's nothing, I don't believe there's no.
So the words in your bill on line 129, shall publish, don't mean what they say.
They shall publish, but I think, Mr. Chairman, when you use the word publish, that can be as simple as them saying, having the report available at their clerk's office.
It doesn't say that, though. It says shall publish. What
I believe we
guidance
use
are we going
pub-
to give to our localities?
I
what
believe
they
we
need to
use
do?
publish throughout the code, but we don't mean that it has to be in the newspaper or on a website.
Some publishing in legal terms is we publish them on the front of the courthouse steps. That's publishing,
That's
correct?
also correct, sir.
Some publishing we require to publish by means of buying ads in the newspapers, do we not?
Mr. Chairman?
So publishing has different terms. What does publish mean in this law? Yes.
Mr. Chairman? I have an amendment, suggested amendment to address your concern.
I'm asking a question. I don't have a concern with this. I
Well,
don't
your
like this
concern
bill.
is easily addressed,
I don't like it. So,
but may I make my
You can do whatever
suggestion?
you like.
All right, Mr. Chairman. I mean, on line 133, if it says that the locality maintains a website, this report shall be made available on the locality's website. So I don't see how we can conclude that the locality would have to create a website. Right? Am I wrong? Because they have the qualifier if the locality maintains a website. Would you prefer to add language that the website is the only vehicle by which this needs to be advertised?
If you want to offer it, offer it.
I would ask the patron, is there some advantage to putting language in that says, well, you know, something to the effect that the website shall be the sole source of hosting this information?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Senator,
I don't know.
obviously a website, I think that, first of all, one, every locality that in the Commonwealth of Virginia that's currently using a red light, there's only a few of them that are doing, and they're the larger localities, and they already have a website. I think that's number one, so that we don't force them to spend thousands of dollars for a website that they may already have a website, we use the word publish.
So can't they spend $1,000 or more publishing this thing?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would respond to say that the word publish, as is used in the Code of Virginia, says communicate to a third party. So I would say that can be a locality that says we have published it to a third party by printing off and putting a 3-ring binder in the clerk's office every year. We have published the data.
All right, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is
Pardon me, I
there,
apologize for.
that's okay. I actually shared that concern, and I just had a follow-up question to that, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Chase.
Delegate Collins, is there a fiscal impact? Do you have a budget amendment that's gone in?
Mr.
for
Chairman,
this?
no, there was no fiscal impact with this bill.
I just have a little bit of heartburn, Mr. Chairman, over a couple things. One of those would be, as you mentioned, the potential unfunded mandates. My localities really have a lot of heartburn anytime I pass on anything that's unfunded. And this is requiring engineering safety analysis and monthly evaluations conducted by a locality. And I'm concerned about that, Mr. Chairman. And I know that we've addressed that. But the second thing that I would be concerned about, the red light cameras. I've seen a lot of red light camera bills. Can you organically give me an exact example? Because I've heard so many bills, Delegate Collins, over specifically how your bill would be used, just walking through an example.
So this is already existing red light camera legislation. What I'm doing is not adding any more ability to add red lights or take away red lights. So that's existing law. To your first point, though, a lot of the data that is being collected in there is already being required by localities. So we're not making them do anything new that they're not already being required to do in order to get a lot of the highway safety funding that they receive, and also for their zoning and road designs. As far as what the locality would a locality that is currently using a red light camera system would have to do, the data that are already, this is data that's already being provided to them. One of the issues is that every red light camera system is a third-party contract.
Gotcha.
So the third-party contract is sending, they're required by statute to send to locality how many cars came through and that. So this is just clarifying that language that the third party that that the locality is contracting with would have to provide that information to them, and then that information is made public. So I don't think that the intent of my bill is not to allow more red light cameras.
Okay.
My intent of the bill was, this is data that I know from a road design and building design concept, is information that would be useful. We're not paying VDOT to lay down hoses and have people sitting in an intersection counting cars. We can actually we'll actually have some real data coming through, how many cars come through an intersection on a particular day, and we can actually do some plot graphing. So that was the purpose of the bill. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to enhance Big Brother throughout the Commonwealth.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a follow-up question.
Senator Chase.
I'm just curious, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? I mean, what's the impetus behind this bill?
I believe you asked the patron. Do you have an answer? She asked the patron.
I'm going to refer to AAA, who is the one who is trying to seek this information to improve the insurance rates in Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Chase, good question. AAA brought this bill. For the past several years, AAA has been working to evaluate the Commonwealth's red light camera system in individual localities. And many of the localities that we've worked with have provided all of this data either by a simple phone call or request, or it's already posted. So, for example, we looked at the City of Virginia Beaches program, and that program publishes basically everything that you see here in this bill. So what we did is we took the best practices from those localities that we looked at across the state, codified what they are doing, put it in the bill, because we did have a situation in one locality in particular where information was not posted, phone calls were made, information was not provided, formal FOIA requests were made for what is public information, and that information was not provided even though it was subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So from AAA's perspective, the Commonwealth red light camera system is really good because it can change motorist behavior to prevent the running of red lights, which is a highly dangerous activity. By providing the transparency on the data and the crashes, accidents, injuries, and fatalities, groups like AAA can come in, evaluate programs, and say, this is really working. Likewise, if it's not working, if there are systems that are not reducing accidents, injuries, and fatalities, we have the tools to be able to point those out and move those systems to where they're going to be most effective.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me ask one question. Do you know how many people of all that data that you collect who have suspended license that were suspended for non-payment of fines run these red light cameras? Do you have any data on that?
That would be a question, I think, for the private vendors that are operating these systems on behalf of localities.
In fact, would it not be correct that these people who have lost their license only because of non-payment of fines probably are the least amount of people that show up in these red light cameras if given a chance to get their license back?
Mr. Chairman, I think we're beyond my scope of knowledge on that particular.
Perhaps your knowledge, but maybe not others.
Yeah.
You understand right now that we suspend license for non-payment of fines and we give them no chance of getting their license back just because they may be too poor to pay. Do you understand that? Does AAA have a position on that?
We do not have a position on that.
Thank you. All right. Any further questions of the patron? We operate by motion.
I'm going to move that we report the bill.
Motion being made to report the bill. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I don't have
Motion being made. Is there a second? Sorry, Delegate Collins, your bill fails on failing to provide a second to the motion to report. So
Thank you,
this
Mr. Chairman.
bill
Thank you,
fails.
ladies and gentlemen.
All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the Senate of Virginia Local Government Committee. It's been a lot of fun. We've made a lot of friends, and we got some people back today. So, hey, so what? Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you need to do stuff because there are 600,000 people without licenses because of 4 people. 4 people. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank especially our local governments. I want to know that you ended on a high note, that we stopped an unfunded mandate on our localities because we are the Committee of Local Government, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get an amen?
That's the only bill we killed all year.
The only bill we killed all year. And we saved it to the end. House Bill 2465 fails to report for lack of a second. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, and for the final time this year, and the honor to have this gavel for now, and hopefully maybe next year we'll have it again, the committee shall rise.